Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of the Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, Eric the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about not only my badass 1776 I just picked up a couple minutes ago when I was out, but we're going to talk about Ohio's ballot issues, mostly being backed by George Soros and a bunch of out-of-state billionaires. So, for those who haven't heard about it recently, there was a group, they're called something like Ohioans to Unqualified Immunity or something like that, what it is. I forget exactly what the actual name of it is 100%. I know it's something about unqualified immunity. I've actually talked to these people and, well, at least their leadership anyway, that's on Twitter there and stuff like that, about a year or two ago. And turns out they're actually very much hardcore BLM Antifa types, that's what it is. And most likely Soros backed is what it is. So basically they were fighting in court to get this ballot issue on the ballot. They got it to the point where they can now collect signatures for it, unfortunately. And it's just a bunch of BS in general. So I don't know how it's going to work or not. I know they got to get 413,000 some odd signatures right now to even get it, to get on the ballot to begin with. Somebody said they have until July 2nd of this year if they want to do it for this year. A lot of people were saying they're not going to do it until next year because of this. So it'll be interesting to see. That kind of went weird from there. Anyway, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens this year, happens next year. I think it'll probably be next year, would be my guess for it. Because it would make more sense to do it during a midterm election for governorship than it would for an off-year election cycle like here in Ohio in 2025. Although, to be fair, that's how they got the that BS abortion thing 3 years ago. So, for those wondering, I'm in a place right now. Moved in here about 30 days ago. As of tomorrow live, it'll be officially 30 days tomorrow. Because I moved on that, well, I guess 3 days or 31 days, actually, because I technically moved in on the 1st. So, but, yeah. It's not bad for what it is. I wish I'd known about the trains before I moved into this place because holy shit, like right now it's okay, but like last night and the day before that, there was just trains everywhere, dude. Because you got the track station a few miles that way, and then apparently you have like freight train tracks over on this side and like that side too. And it's just, yeah, legitimately this morning I was trying to sleep and it was like 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., 3 a.m., and then it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock this morning. You just hear like train horns honking. I'm to the point right now where I'm gonna actually contact my state rep here and see if they will do something where they actually ban the use of train horns after like 9 p.m. at night or something like that to like 9 a.m. in the morning or something. So, because there's no way I can deal with this shit for the next 11 months. Like I go psychotic at that point, honestly. I would go full 1776 at that point. But anyway, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this group that's trying to unqualify immunity right now. Mostly because I'm very torn about the whole thing myself because it's like, and I don't agree that cops should have qualified immunity when nobody else does. Because that's the thing, like I've seen so many bad shoots, especially in this state recently, when that Middleton one recently that I can't even show here on YouTube because it's just so bad. Where it was cops like banging on some dude's door, dude answers the door holding a gun down, and the cop just unloads on his ass at that point. And that's just the latest bad shoot here in the state. That shouldn't be considered to have qualified immunity because that's straight up murder what that guy did, honestly. So, like I'm very much against that kind of stuff, getting, not getting slapped down basically and getting murder charges for it. When if it was any armed citizen, they would have gotten murder charges for that one. But at the same time, I'm also very much to a point where I disagree with the group behind it is what it is. It seems like they're very much leftist ties and potential Soros ties. And then not only that, but I think what it would do is, just like other states that have done the qualified immunity thing in the past, it would actually, in the long run, like 3-5 years down the road, it would make for a worse state at that point because you would have a bunch of good police, or maybe not good police, but like, semi-decent cops that are on the different PDs right now would be like, well, fuck this, I'm going to quit because, they don't want to get busted for some bullshit later on down the road. Like some dude files a lawsuit against them for like assault and battery, or maybe they have like it was actually a good shoot, but they're like, oh, it was a bad shoot or whatever the case. No, they don't qualify immunity for that stuff. So now they get fucked over. And then that's what it's going to lead to, obviously, in that case, would be something like that Scorpion unit that killed that Tyree Nichols guy years ago, which was you had these dudes that were never qualified to have a badge at all to begin with, but the standards were lowered so much so that they were able to get these dudes. At least two of these guys were felons that were on that unit, by the way, that killed that dude. And what I believe it would lead to then is it would lead to stuff like that, where you just have people lower standards, and then you'd have a bunch of idiots on the force now is what it is with badges. So it's really hard to say. And then I guess there's other people talking about like the ballot language for this whole thing, because there's talk that it's not just going to be cops that would lose qualified immunity. It would be like anybody in the state of Ohio then, that would be from a teacher to a judge to a DA, etc. Could basically be brought up on charges and stuff like that, which I'd be okay with that, honestly, because there's some really shitty state or really shitty, what do you call them now? We don't call them DAs here. We call them county prosecutors. That's what it is. Yeah, there's some really shitty county prosecutors in the state of Ohio that should never be in power at all. Same thing with judges here. So, as well as state politicians for that matter. And that's one thing that always bothers you. People are always like, because they got the householder scandal being featured in that dark money thing from HBO recently. And people are all like, oh yeah, the Ohio GOP is so corrupt. Yet meanwhile, they don't mention a goddamn thing about how the fucking Democrat Party here is the most corrupt piece of shit ever. And how every single Democrat is either on the take of Bloomberg at this point or some other anti-gun group. And at least, I think it's like 4 or 5 sitting Democrats right now in the Ohio General Assembly all have direct dark money ties to Michael Bloomberg entirely. Like their entire campaigns were funded by Bloomberg's anti-gun money is what it is. As well as several of them being ex-Moms Demand Action members, which I say ex because they still are Moms Demand Action members. They just happen to be state reps, and that's what it is too. So, and then not to mention all the Democrats that have broken term limits over the last like 6 election cycles to flip-flop the General Assembly after we put in a thing to stop that stuff from happening. So, yeah, it's just a bunch of fuckery entirely, and I'm so sick of it, man. But yeah, I ended up getting this the 1776 cap this morning when I was out. Went over to Walmart to get some stuff and saw that they had updated their section there that was Easter stuff to 4th of July stuff, and this happened to be there. I was going to get this crazy cowboy hat that was the same price because it was like a crazy like red, white, and blue sparkly one, and I'm just like, yeah, no, that's a little too flashy for me, but I do like the 1776 hat, so I was like, gotta get that. So I think this was like $650 or something. I'm sure it's made in China, but who knows? I thought it was a pretty decent price for it though. So, but yeah, it's just a bunch of shit all the way around on that one. And then of course, going back to the ballot issues here, being Soros backed and being backed by billionaires from out of state and stuff like that. You have another group now trying to force in ranked choice voting in Ohio, which is never going to fucking fly here for multiple reasons. And it's why you have the Ohio GOP right now. They're actually fighting to ban ranked choice voting in the state of Ohio, as they should, because first of all, there is no reason for the person that came in second or third to now be governor or AG or Secretary of State or something like that, when you have a person that was on top of them and stuff like that in the votes. But because you had so many people that like chose the person as like the second or third choice over it is there, now all of a sudden they're the state rep or they're the state senator or they're the state AG or whatever it is there. It's like, nah, fuck that noise. So then you also have this coming out a few hours ago on Reddit, and then the Ohio subreddit here, which is Ohio's proposed drag ban is back. Republicans rebranded it as the, quote, Indecent Exposure Modernization Act, because it is indecent exposure, people. You are literally having grown-ass men dress up like they're women and shove their dicks in kids' faces. How is that not indecent exposure? How is that not criminal behavior at that point? When you literally have drag shows in the past at brothels and stuff like that that were for adults only over 18 years old, why the fuck should you have a bunch of fucking 10, 15-year-old kids, 5-year-old kids, 6-year-old kids, whatever it is at that point, see a bunch of dudes junks in the streets and stuff, dude? Oh yeah, that's right, you shouldn't. That's the entire point. So, yeah, totally for that, honestly. We also got court rules. Ohio's ban on quote-unquote gender-affirming care, which is stop sterilizing children, literally, can be enforced amid suits, as it should be, because these people are literally sterilizing kids, man. It's fucked up individuals. One thing I do have a problem with, though, and this is something that's happening either right now or in the next couple hours, which is apparently the Ohio Senate under that idiot Steve Huffman right now, is now voting on restricting sales of hemp and Delta-8 products. I can tell you right now, as someone who literally needs Delta-8 to stop my chronic pain, my constant chronic pain, to where I can actually sleep for a couple hours a night, it's bullshit, dude, to put that on weed dispensaries. It's like, no, I should be able to just buy that from some dude somewhere. And that's the one thing I do hate about the GOP right now, because there are so many people in the Ohio GOP right now that are directly tied to big pharmaceutical sales and big pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that. Their campaigns are bought up by big pharma specifically is what it is. And that's the biggest issue right now. So it's just ridiculousness to see all that stuff going on. Yeah, it's not surprising. I think a lot of them are. And it's because when you look at what's going on right now, you see that anti-gun stances are not good. Like, well, first off, they're tyrannical to begin with. Every single thing that these people are for is literally a direct attack on the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. I think some of my neighbors are yelling at each other outside right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not in the background. So just be like, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to do stuff in here. I'm trying to be quiet, though, or at least quiet enough. So I think one of the trains is coming through now. Yep. Definitely hear the train coming. Yeah, I don't know if my internet shouldn't be dipping like that. That's weird. I think that's my neighbor from next apartment over is what it is. But yeah, so basically the qualified immunity thing I think is bullshit. Especially depending on how the language sits and stuff like that. I think you will, like I said, I'm not totally against like updating policing and stuff like that and like doing better policing and whatnot. Do I think an unqualified immunity would actually do that though? No, I think it would just lead to worse and worse stuff is what it is. And it's just like, ironically enough, it's just like I was mentioning people recently about Ohio's concealed carry laws. And I really think, honestly, the reason that they passed concealed carry in this state is to allow armed citizens to justifiably, well, not only that, but also stand your ground on top of that. Then the two things combine together. Then I think it's really just a way to allow people to actually kill criminals and have the justice system know how to deal with the fucking, life in prison of these assholes later on is what it is then. So I could be totally wrong about that one, but I'd like to think I'm totally wrong about that actually, to be honest with you too. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something similar to that though. I do that obviously with Dave Yost being AG right now. He did that study a couple of years ago now that actually proved in the 2 years between, or it was 2 years, 3 years. I think it was 3 years actually, because it was 2021, 2022, and then 2023. It was that like 3-year study basically of the year before, the year of, and then the year after constitutional carry became a thing in the state, and how you had 6 of the 8 major cities in the state basically have their crime rate drop like crazy because everybody's like scared to get shot now is what it is, and thank God for that one. I really wish that, but like one thing I do wish that the Ohio GOP would do at this point is I wish that they would actually get off their ass and pass campus carry, because when you look at where a lot of the crime is in Columbus right now, it's right around Ohio State's campus. And because you have the campus being a gun-free zone, you have these criminals that think they're going to get, away with doing whatever at that point, robbing people's cars, doing whatever there. And if they realize they're going to get shot, like, that's a big different story, obviously. So, who knows? But yeah, it's just a bunch of shit, honestly. And like I said, going back to the whole householder thing with the dark money scandal there, one of the biggest issues with that whole thing is that you have so many Democrats now who have gotten away with everything in the state, who are doing pay-to-play stuff, who are doing direct bribes from Moms Made Action, et cetera, there, like Allison Russo had 4 years ago in 2021. And people don't realize, like, and I've been saying this since I've been paying attention to politics back in, like, 2016, 2017, dude. Like, we are legitimately, like, probably the most corrupt state in the union right now. And it's not just one party, it's both major parties right now. And the problem stems from the fact these people should be termed out after 8 years of one side of the General Assembly or the other, for that matter. But instead of having that be the reality, as soon as they get termed, or as soon as they're like about to term out, like everybody's about to term out, whatever it is there, they will simply find a buddy, whether it be Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. And you will have like half these people that will just simply flip to the opposite side for the next election cycle. And then whatever seat they were holding on the other side of the GA, you will have them flip to the other shit is what it is then. So I was going to update my thing about Vivek, and I guess I'll just do that right now, honestly. Ohio Patriot Education Network no longer supports Vivek Ramaswamy for governor at all. That guy's a fucking scumbag, piece of shit, sellout. He's an anchor baby. He's by his own admission. He can go fuck himself. And I said, what was it, like 2-3 months ago when I first endorsed this asshole? I said then, I was like, if Vivek does some shit that I find completely reprehensible, I'm done with this asshole, and I'm done with this asshole. I was going to do this probably about a month and a half ago when I first found out about the whole anchor baby status thing, when he admitted to basically being an anchor baby. I don't think it was it was either MSNBC or NBC interview he was doing with some woman, and then basically admitted to being an anchor child at that point. With that interview, to where he tried to gloss over it because he's like, what he meant it was neither his mother nor father were U.S. citizens at that point through citizenship testing is what it is. And then she's like, wait a minute, doesn't that technically make you like an anchor baby then? And he's like, aren't we all that kind of thing though? And then like within about 2 minutes of that, he admits his dad's not even a fucking U.S. citizen to this day is what it is, because he can't pass a damn test. But yet Vivek's whole entire plan is to force Ohio graduates to take a citizenship test that his own father can't even pass. So it's like, the fuck, dude? Like, what the hell kind of hypocrisy is that? So yeah. And then of course, like, if you actually pay attention to Vivek's Twitter account in the past like month or so, he keeps saying all this shit about like, oh yeah, when we were doing this thing, or when our founding father, it's like, dude, they weren't your founding fathers. Your fucking family wasn't even here until the 80s, bro. Like, long after that shit. Now, my family's been longer than yours has, buddy. For like several generations longer. So, for those who don't know, my grandparents and I believe great-grandmother on my mom's side, they actually had to flee Poland back in the I believe it was early 30s, because it was right before Lenin took over. Like, it was like a year or two of that, like a year or two before he took over is when they had to flee because they kept being snatched up by Russian forces at the time. And then they ended up, it was apparently, my understanding was they were where the Polish border is with Russia there, is they kept being taken from their farm that was like around the border is what it was there by the Russian side. And then when Poland's side realized, oh, these people are gone now, they went back over to the Russia side and grabbed them back and brought them back then. And I guess this happened like X amount of times what it was. I have no idea exactly how many times it was. It could have been 5 times, could have been 10 times for all I fucking know, or even more for that matter. But at some point during that whole thing, they're just like, fuck it, we're going to America. And then they got on a ship, came to America. And that's why my family came here is what it was. And that was around the late 30s, I believe is what it was. And then they bought, some of them settled in other parts of the state of Ohio. Some settled, I believe it was in Pennsylvania. And then obviously my direct ancestrage settled right in this area here is what it was. So And yeah, it worked out pretty well for all of us. And then they were able to buy that piece of land that unfortunately had to be sold by my sister last year because we couldn't afford to actually pay off the mortgage, which should have dealt with my mom actually at that point. When she died, the mortgage should have died with her at that point. It's absolute bullshit to put that on the kids of the deceased or next kin of the deceased for that matter. And it's very fucking infuriating that I don't have the house right now to this day. So that being said, I might make a sorry, I was looking at Twitter for a sec here. Apparently there's a woman making period pads so big you can wear them like a fucking WWE belt, basically. That's just messed up. So, but yeah, I don't think Vivek's going to fix shit if he actually becomes governor. I think he'll just be more corrupt than everybody else is what it is right now. In fact, I'm not, and that's another thing too. That's why basically rescinding our endorsement here at the network is because I'm not even 100% sure if Vivek is legally qualified to be governor at this point. Like, I'm not even sure he's actually physically allowed to run, but yeah, he's still running is what it is. Not to mention he's been breaking, I'm pretty sure, state law right now by doing ad buys like way before the election cycle is what it is right now. So my plan right now probably scammer people. Fucking people. I need to call my medication people after this though, because I gotta get my stuff delivered this week so I can take my shot. So since that's coming up on the 8 weeks right now, I think that's what it is. But yeah, so anyway, going back to the Vivek thing though. Most of them up back in Dave Yost around for the 2026 midterms, what it is there. I don't know if Yost is going to win or not. Like I said, I think the biggest problem is I think Trump endorsed Vivek way too early. Meanwhile, he didn't endorse anybody in 2022 that could have primaried to wine out for that matter. And yeah, like that's my biggest problem entirely, that whole thing. And plus, who's to say that Trump ain't going to shit the bed here at some point, and then you'll just have people being all anti-Trump, and then it'll be some giant fuckery going on or whatever in the state of Ohio then. So I know Democrats can't win here, thank God. And if Amy Acton, that fucking scumbag cunt who should be in Ohio president right now for multiple crimes against humanity for the shit she did here for lockdowns and stuff, if she were somebody that would become governor, I would be immediately filing lawsuits against the state of Ohio at that point because there is absolutely no way that that woman ever wins legitimately. Her win would be mass voter fraud like crazy. So, which is exactly how it's like 10 other Democrats sitting governors right now, from Janet Mills to Gretchen Whitmer to Gavin Newsom, et cetera, because they're all a bunch of damn cheaters, what it is. And that's why these same states, Michigan, California, et cetera, don't allow election audits to happen anymore. So, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens here with qualified immunity and everything else. Like I said, I'm just kind of over all of it right now is what it is. I know we're supposed to have an election cycle coming up here pretty soon. I think it's next Tuesday, I believe, is the 6th. Yeah, next Tuesday is the 6th. There's apparently a ballot issue on there right now. I forget exactly what it is called offhand, but it's basically to allow the funding of Brown Stadium, which I am totally against for that matter. I can't legally vote this time around, unfortunately, because of the way I end up moving in here. I don't have time to switch over my ballot stuff, so I wouldn't be able to vote and cast a ballot legitimately this time around or not. So, but I'd like to tell everybody else out there, hey, if you're going to vote next Tuesday, though, vote against that stupid-ass amendment because there's zero reason to be funding Brown Stadium when the Haslam's going to fund it themselves at this point, dude. If they want a new giant dome stadium, they can literally take it out of their own pockets. It should not be on Ohio taxpayers to fund their fucking goddamn place when it doesn't benefit us at all, for that matter. And if anything, it's going to hurt us in the long run. So, because the only one that's going to make money off of that is going to be their asses at that point then. So it's like the same thing with LeBron's I Promise school that we had. Funny, like 95% of what it was there. It didn't do jack shit for Ohio kids. In fact, it made more kids illiterate for the matter. So, not to mention, got at least one kid, Ethan Lyman, killed outside of it. And interesting little caveat to that one, by the way, is one of the two brothers that actually killed his ass by stomping him to death. That piece of shit ended up catching about 18 more charges right during that trial. And then in the last couple months here, caught a bunch more felony charges too, for that matter. I'm like, dude, why are they keep letting this dude out when he's catching multiple felonies from literally being a felon in possession of firearms, which is one of the ones he caught before the Lyman case went to trial, to now more recently it was him crashing a stolen vehicle. And I'm like, dude, why the fuck is this dude even out to get this shit? Like, no, slap him with a fucking like 20 to life sentence and be done with it. Like, seriously, this is why we need like 1 to 5 strike laws in this country, dude. If you do something severe enough, you're just done completely. You're executed publicly is what it is then. To, 2, 3, 4 strikes, whatever it is there, and then like a 5th strike needs to be. Obviously, with the first one, it would be, murdering kids, raping kids, etc. That would be like 1 strike of law sentences. And then, 3 strikes would be like, yeah, you get a bunch of felonies and stuff like that. They're like severe, but not like, crazy violent stuff. But like 2 strike stuff would probably be more like violent stuff, is my guess. Have to be a whole breakdown though, but yeah, it's a bunch of all the way around though. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Carmelo Anthony situation as well, too, for that matter, while we're here. How was that dude out of prison is my question. Like, the fact that he was even allowed to make bond in Texas is ridiculous. He obviously murdered Austin Metcalf in cold blood. He should never see the light of day again, for that matter, dude. So, and the fact you had a bunch of BLM and black supremacist types literally fund his ass like $500,000 at this point is just ridiculousness. So, I also find it very interesting, too, that since that actual case happened now that unfortunately Austin lost his life there, you've had people show their true colors like crazy in this country, and you've had black supremacy rise up like a motherfucker anymore. So apparently a bunch of leftists are calling for debt strikes now. Oh, and you also got some leftist nuts claiming he would have Trump, you're not Christian. It's like, well, you can go fuck yourself, bitch. Because I'm 100% Christian. I'm a lot more Christian than your ass is. Let's see what Vivek was saying a couple minutes ago here. Go to the old Twitter/X. See, Vivek 3 hours ago, we're winning in the general election matchup by a significant margin. Not good enough. We need to win. This in a landslide, unite our state. And it was somebody saying, even garbage polls dismiss the myth that Vivek is a bad general election candidate, while Vivek continues to hold a wide lead for the Republican nomination. Fellow Republicans Jim Tressel and Dave Yost also top Democrat Amy Acton in hypothetical head-to-head matchups. That's the thing, too, I think is weird because, like, as far as I'm aware, like, no other Democrats really jumped in the race right now to, go up against Acton in the primary. There's what it is. I don't know why I think he was dipping like crazy. But anyway, there's been talk of Sherrod Brown potentially trying to run for governor right now. I honestly think he would beat Acton straight up in a fucking primary if he was to be in that race. There's also been talk of that piece of shit Tim Ryan jumping in the race, which I don't understand how that cocksucker's not currently in state prison right now for the shit he pulled back in 2022 during the midterms when he was running against J.D. Vance, where he literally called for the murder of MAGA people. And then within days of that, you had some psychotic leftist run over some kid in a MAGA hat. I think it was in Montana or Wyoming, one of the 2 states. And was rightfully charged with murder after that. And my thinking on everything like that is, like, how is Tim not in prison right now for accessory both before and after the fact? Because it was his direct rhetoric calling for literally the assassination of mega people at that point that got that kid killed. So, which is why I've said multiple times I like to fight Tim Ryan myself right now. What it is, dude. So, apparently there was the Canadian election the other day where it was one of the leftists that won power there literally sit on national TV, make Canada poor. Like, wow, you really can't make that shit up, bro. I'll tell you what, honestly, at this point, we would be so much better off if America just invaded Canada and just took a big swath of it, made it like a new U.S. state. Just delete off California and just make it like New California or something. So, or really, I would say maybe not even a U.S. state, just make it like a U.S. territory would probably be better there. I was going to show this one, but I can't, so I'll just repost it on our X page here. It says 3 astronauts beat up Papa John's worker in the Bronx, steal 2 pizzas. Worker says it's now too dangerous to go back there. The 3 involved were 2 18-year-olds and a 15-year-old. Jesus. Fucking people, man. Yeah, it's just so disgusting, dude. I'm also getting really sick of the usual suspects just doing all kinds of crime and making the rest of us have to pay for it then. So it would be very nice to just see, I don't know, it would be interesting to see if we had like I would say like an attempt or like a maybe like pilot experience, something like that, like pilot program where you just took like, I don't know, like 2 states, or actually I guess maybe like 10 states actually, where it would be like 2 like per like X number of races or whatever. And then you would just simply have like a 5 or a 10-year experimentation, that's what it is, and see like if we do like racial resegregation kind of thing in those states specifically, that's what it is there. Like which ones would actually flourish and which ones would falter like crazy within like about a year or 2 basically. And then from there you could actually figure out Jesus. Sorry, I was scrolling through Twitter here is what it was. But yeah, you could actually figure out like very quickly like which ones would flourish, which ones would falter, and we could figure out like who the actual problem with our society is then, 100%. So, which I think a lot of us already know that who it actually is, but like nobody really wants to admit it. Obviously, is what it is, which is very sad. But yeah, it's. I'm just getting real sick of it, man. And I think a lot of other people are too, for that matter. It's like we were all saying on Hana's chat last night. Like, I forget what the question was Hana brought up, but it was like about gun ownership or something like that. And like the entire panel was basically just like, why hands? And like I said after the fact, and it is true, like the reason I became a gun owner in this country is because when I looked at dipshits like AOC getting into office back in 2018 midterms, and I was like, yeah, these Democrats are definitely going to go for gun grabs, like might as well get it now while I still can kind of thing. And that's why I bought my first gun then back in those days. And since then I've not stopped, obviously. I can get some money together. I'll put some money together and buy something new. Usually is what it is. Which now I'm actually looking into. My local actually has a. They're finally bringing back the. I forget what kind of Taurus those are. Whether they 8-shot revolvers is what it is there. They're in 22. And if I can get the cash together, I'm going to go and get one of those one of these days soon. And basically have that as a backup weapon with me at all times. So. I think so. Especially in violent crimes, yeah. The issue there is, like, it's hard to say who they're going to sue, though, right? Because if you're like a bunch of minority teenagers that have nothing financially to you, or your family has nothing financially to it, like, who are they really going to sue? Are they going to sue the city? They're going to sue the state that this happened in? Because that's really what it would go down to being taxpayer money, probably most likely. Unless, and this is more where I think it really would come in handy at that point, where it would be, if you're going to be the victim of violent crime or something like that, you need to start suing politicians that are putting through this piece of shit legislation that is allowing a lot of this crime to go on, is what it is then. Because I guarantee you, if you actually have people start suing a bunch of, sitting state reps, sitting state senators, etc., there, a governor, AG, whatever it is there, that aren't doing their job, that's where things will start to change, I think, quite a bit, actually. And I think if you're doing direct lawsuits against politicians, that is where your money is going to be made good from, is what it is then. So, yeah. I don't know. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see there. Apparently there was a company that is now telling people not to buy their products because they're all about the pedo pride flag. It's like, yeah, pretty sure you're going to go out of business now on that one, bro. Probably not a smart idea to push that shit. So. But anyway. I think that's about it for today, though. I really want to come on here and talk about the qualified immunity thing and a couple other things. Everyone should discuss a lot of topics I want to talk about. So this one's actually kind of crazy. So I guess this is a thing they do in like some Middle Eastern countries and stuff like that, where they will actually fry stuff without oil, and it's like literally using sand. And I guess you can make coffee and stuff like that too over in those countries, where you like, I forget exactly how it's done, but they like compress the sand somehow and it like drips like liquid out of it, and it turns that shit into coffee. So that is pretty wild, man. I don't know if I'd want to eat that though, to be honest with you, because that just seems like it would taste gross. But yeah, I mean it's pretty interesting though that it actually works. So, and to be fair, I know that a lot of those different seed oils now are coming out to be like super toxic. So, but anyway. So yeah, plan right now is like I said, I got a couple things I got to do tonight, and then from there I'm gonna go. Ew. That's fucked up. Apparently there was some dude who went to thrift stores and got clothing from them and apparently contacted some kind of skin disease from it. I would assume it's because he didn't wash those clothes, I would hope. Oh yeah, just that thing right there. Yeah, I went to thrift stores and wore the clothes without washing them first. Well, bro, like that should be common sense. You gotta wash stuff before you, wear it and whatnot. So, but anyway, I'm probably gonna do a review on that show, The Pit, pretty soon. Watched the entirety of the series. I actually started rewatching it the other day. I'm almost done with the rewatch now, and it's actually a pretty good show, with the exception of Wiley putting his own leftist bullshit in there. Because there's definitely like some woke stuff for sure in that, and unnecessary, especially in my opinion. But I think a lot of other people would agree with me on that one. Like there's certain things they put in there that just make no sense at all, and it has no reason to be there in the first place. It's really dumb. But sometimes I swear, like just talking about something, like it definitely is like some weird Google algorithm stuff. Because what was it, like maybe a half hour ago we talked about actually probably like 20 minutes ago, I talked about the 68 Meter City thing, and yeah, I'm sitting here. Firearm videos. Proof is in the pudding. 7 months ago, Ohio started allowing citizens to carry concealed weapons without permits. Study has found that the crime rate has since decreased in 6 major cities in the state. Although that was an old one. Yeah, that was a particular one was a very, very old one, because it wasn't 7 months ago. Now it's been almost 3 years now. In fact, almost 3 years now. Yeah, because it'll be June 13th will be our third anniversary as an actual organization here in the state. So, and I hear one of the train horns honking back now. So, anyway, but yeah, I think the plan right now is I'm going to go do a couple things, make a couple calls real quick, probably take a nap for a couple hours, and then go from there. Hang on, there's something at my door right now. Hang on, that's got some crazy stuff going on right now. What the hell, man? Huh. I don't think they shut off my... Yeah, I had some guy from AEP here talking about shutting off my electricity. Here's what it is. Oh, wait. Yeah, that wasn't even me. That was for the other person that used to live here. Well, they better not shut my shit off then if that be the case, because I'm paying the people. So I'm going to go check to make sure they're still here if that be the case. And I'm going to end this live stream right now, so it is.